studio with me, I have psychic medium Dean McMurray, and we were talking before kind of about how you do what you do. Now let's talk about what do you do? Like, what kind of readings do you offer people, Dean?
Sure. Of course, besides doing galleries, which is a large, if people are not familiar with galleries, a gallery is a large public setting where everybody comes together in a group and has a reading. And then I also do, of course, one-on-one readings. So, and then as well as that, I do email readings, and of course, thanks to the beautiful technology called internet and videos and smartphones, as I'm holding here. Also do like video readings if people live either across the country or across the oceans or whatever. Able to connect to them through internet and video. So
now, is it tough when you're doing like an internet reading, like an email or something like that, a video reading? Is it tough because you can't be in the same place or really see them?
No, it's not the same. The only, of course, the difference is it's not quite as personal. Obviously, because you're, just like you and I are talking, is whether you can share a cup of coffee or shake each other's hand or what have you. But for those that can't travel to wherever I am, that's a great option as far as, or some people just want a little insight. There's a lot of business owners. I have a lot of return clients that want some insight, maybe more on the psychic aspect versus mediumship. And sometimes there's folks that want that as well, the old standard love, money, job, those kind of things. And sometimes where spirit will give some insight as far as where they're at and where they want to go, is it aligning with at the time.
Right.
So, but as far as the mediumship pieces, so face-to-face, email, and of course video, and public events.
And now you also do, you do like spirit communication, dowsing, medical intuitive, remote viewing, trauma relief, and you also have classes. So tell us about some of those things.
Okay, so with, of course, spirit communication, meaning the mediumship piece, you break it up, if you will, the psychic medium. There's, the psychic aspect of it, more a reading of a person and their energy and different things. And then the mediumship piece, of course, connecting to the spirit world and a communication back and forth with a deceased loved one. And then, of course, dowsing. Of course, what dowsing is, it's an ancient form of working with energy work, and basically it's just detecting energy. So some people know it as water witching. A lot of ranchers in the state, in Montana and other areas, still use it today for finding wells. Other people know it for, they call it ghost busting. Or other people actually use it for shifting the energy in a home. So we've all maybe seen homes, especially realtors, that some people call it a divorce home. Other people call it homes that don't sell or come back on the market quite frequently, just because it feels icky or heavy. And so where dowsers can actually go in, shift the energy of the home, or as we were talking in your case, Stacy, that where you can actually say there's you were saying you have water problems all the time. We understand that there's natural aqueducts and different natural forms of water underneath homes. And so what you can actually do, and it's been scientifically proven, you can actually energetically shift the water source and change its flow, I guess, if you will, away from the foundation or underneath the basement or wherever you're having issues. So it's really interesting. When you start working with energy, really, there are no limits. The other piece is we talk about medical intuitive or medical intuition. And so this goes by a lot of different labels, but the thing that I would share is that, and basically where I was just told one evening saying, hey, Dean, get your butt downstairs and meditate. And I was like, okay. And this was from my spirit guides. And so the voices in my head. And so basically what it was is where I am I channel a deceased surgeon, and where I'm able to see inside your body or somebody else's body, and to pick up areas of concern or past maybe trauma, or areas of concern as far as that need additional, I guess, looking into whether you need to go to see a traditional doctor,
Right.
or maybe it's something more emotional or spiritual or whatever the case is. And then then we talk about those, and then there's some angel energy that steps in. There's an angel that worked with specifically for that, and clears the blockages and allows your body to heal naturally the way it's supposed to.
Huh.
So it's kind of crazy. Sometimes it's not like looking at a skeleton.
Right.
That's what probably oh my God, he can see my spleen. And it's like, yeah, but I really don't, I really don't know what I'm looking at, because I always say the caveat, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not, but I can give you a Band-Aid physically, but I always tell my clients saying, hey, if you feel concerned, or if you want follow-on medical treatment, please see your normal medical practitioner.
Yeah.
The other thing, remote viewing. So remote viewing is the ability to see places and things or objects that are not physically right in front of you. So if, for example, a lot of people are familiar with this, maybe on the military aspect. So the military I believe it was back in the 70s, even maybe in the 60s, the military and the CIA did Operation Stargate, which they used a lot of remote viewers, and where they were actually able to glean information from foreign countries. And these people were never there.
Yeah.
More on the home front, as far as instead of fighting Cold War and psychic sabotage, that kind of thing, people use it for finding lost persons, or maybe in homicide investigations, those things. It's the ability to energetically project yourself or your energy in a certain area to actually see. So, like you're physically there. Okay?
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of different definitions to it, but so it's very interesting, and a lot of people have a lot of different variances of the ability, but it's a very cool thing. And don't think that I just use it to drop in on stage saying, hey, you're really wearing that today? I don't do that. I don't do that. I'm not going to, Spirit doesn't allow, Spirit doesn't allow that. Be like, well, you could drop in on somebody when they're, maybe it's not an appropriate time in somebody's bedroom or some other. No, that's not going to.
What Jolie's doing today?
It's like, hey, we make another tape. No, that doesn't happen. We joke about it, but that stuff is not. It doesn't happen. And the other thing is classes. So I've done classes, of course, on mediumship. So connections, a course in mediumship, I have done, and I continue to do. And then typically that's a 4-week class, or sometimes I do a 1-day, 8-hour intensive class. And then also Intuitive University. And that's where basically we all have heard the word intuition, or your gut, or listen to your gut, or that inner knowing. So basically what this does is build on your different abilities, or your different skills that you already have, and basically just allows those to blossom. And then we do a lot of exercises, hands-on exercises, to help you develop your intuitive abilities. And we actually do, at the end of it, it's really fun to blindfold people, and we do like a little mini obstacle course. It's really cool. So it's not like climbing ladders. Come on now.
It's a high ropes course.
It's right. There is a liability thing. It's like, no, usually if I have
you don't do well, we know you need more work.
It's like, oh, there goes the ambulance. Bye. Next. No, it's not that. It's usually what it is. Anybody that's taken my course can tell you. If it's a classroom setting, what I do is I'll take tables and chairs, and I'll completely make a mess of everything.
Okay.
And while they're outside in the hallway. And then what they have to do is tune into a specific object. So the energy is, say, maybe a ball or whatever object I have. but they're blindfolded. And so they have, and of course I'm walking with them so they're not injuring themselves. But the thing is that where they have to navigate through all these areas. And it's because the thing that I really want people to take away from anything that, it's like these gifts are great, but really what are they there for?
Right.
So, how do you want them to show up in your life? Is it so you can, whether you're buying a house or a car, or maybe, especially, you put a lot of emphasis on young ladies, especially starting to date.
Yeah.
And think about how powerful a tool would your intuition be if maybe something felt off, if somebody invited you to a party, or something felt creepy about it. And the same for young men too. So as a young adult or a young person, and stepping into their self, is saying there's a lot of, we can probably go back and go, boy, that was not a good idea.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Right.
Everything told me that I should not go anywhere with this person.
Right. It's like, but they were so cute, right?
I like them.
They're so nice. They had a nice smile. It's like,
they offered to buy me dinner.
Right. So, but the thing is that understanding that if we allow that inner voice to get louder and we trust it, that's the biggest thing, is the trusting piece. Then, saying, hey, it's not going to steer us wrong, and it's okay to listen. But a lot of times there's no logic to it. It's like,
a lot of times we don't want to hear. Like, my intuition will tell me, like, this is not a good idea. It's not going to work. It's not going to end well. It's not. And I'm like, no, because I want it to end well.
Right.
And my intuition's like, you're an idiot. keep going. Let's see what happens.
Right.
And then I'm like, yeah, that didn't end well.
Right. So a lot of times too, it's like I always kind of knock myself around. It's like, yeah, I knew,
but I
knew better.
Know.
I know, but I don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
Especially when the voices in your head start screaming. It's like, what are you doing?
Stop!
And my spirit guide starts drinking.
Yeah.
My spirit guide is really the guy in the liquor store that points out what selection you should have with steak or seafood. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so what do you have for me, Dean? Like, what do you...
So one of the things that, Stacy, we were talking earlier.
I'm probably one of those people you don't want to tune into.
No.
You're like, I want to avoid this. My intuition's telling me this isn't going to end well.
So really, to sum it up really quick is, a lot of people are like, well, how do the readings work, Dean? And this is what I always tell folks, is I'll connect to you and connect to Spirit stepping forward to communicate with you. I'll give you a description of who I'm seeing and sensing, and then I'll take a brief pause and ask you if that's somebody that you can recognize or validate.
Okay.
If you can, simply tell me yes or no. And if you can't, I'll go back and get as much information as I can.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
The thing that I can never guarantee is I never know who I'm connecting to till I pick up the phone in theory. So, all right?
Okay.
And the other thing is, too, in my readings, I get a lot of angels. I work with a lot of archangel energy. So, but one of the things, we were talking a little bit earlier, but for you, Stacy, I do get on your mother's side of the family, I do get an older gentleman that steps forward. I understand that he would have passed in his 80s. I see him as a thin gentleman, and I feel more pain on his left leg, but it feels more in the hip area. And then also it feels like he lived more predominantly in a rural setting. And it kept, and as odd as this sounds, I understand that he smelled like licorice. So.
I think it might be it could be my great-grandpa. It could be, he smelled a lot like pipe tobacco, which I suppose could be mistaken for licorice.
Licorice?
Or it could be my grandpa too. He lived in a rural setting and kind of gimped around a little bit. It's hard to say.
Sure.
Yeah.
So one of the things that immediately that I get with you, Stacy, though, is when we talk about angels. And of course, obviously, is Archangel Gabriel is the first and foremost that steps right above your head. Now, if you're not familiar with angels, is Archangel Gabriel works with those in all forms of communication, which is a great fit for you.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And it gives you a lot of your energy.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, give me some wings, right? And I always just say, all right, Gabe, come on, let's go to work. And a lot of people say, well, how do I Do I call them? Do I chant? You don't need to say anything special. A lot of times if I'm doing work, I just have an understanding that they know when I'm working. They know me better than me.
Yeah.
And then they know to show up. And I always joke too, it's like remembering all their names, and what they do is like remembering all the reindeer names. It's like, is that Comet, Cupid? And even though I joke, it's almost that sense, unless there are some people that are very, very connected to all as far as, very apt at as far as all their names.
Mm-hmm.
And but the biggest thing is that with Archangel Gabriel showing up right above your head is obviously not only in what you do, given your given profession, but as well as the ability of clairvoyance, so clear seeing. So sometimes that's precognition, or as well as seeing spirits sometimes out of the corner of your eyes. And now one of the things that I know about you is that you do kind of some pseudo paranormal investigation, correct?
Yeah.
So, and when you're doing some of that, do you see some spirit, I guess, movement, if you will? Let's
Yeah.
better. So understanding that Archangel Gabriel kind of helps and facilitates with that as well. And now, obviously, and you were sharing earlier about being concerned that you're bringing more guests home than
like
what you
things
showed
go
up to the
on.
party with.
Yeah.
And understand, so Archangel Michael, just understanding as far as known as to protect her,
Mm-hmm.
and really associated with her color blue, and you got a lovely blue dress on, is you just bringing and holding that energy. So all about being protected, okay?
Okay.
So there's so many more angels around us, but those two are very predominant for you.
Okay.
And the biggest thing for you, as far as Spirit's message for you, Stacy, and I know you got so many irons in the fire, and we were talking earlier before we started everything this morning, but really there is outside of what you currently have planned, and what you have some bigger things to do. And it almost feels like a non-profit organization, if I'm understanding correctly.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've been seeing the inklings of that, but it almost feels like something tied to giving back to kids, or some kids benefit thing.
Okay.
And I'm not really seeing exactly what that full picture is yet. So I'm just understanding that obviously all the pieces aren't in place. So just really, and the thing that I would share in any reading, if it's not making complete sense yet, or you're like, I'm not really understanding what you're saying, just really stay open, because sometimes, like I shared, is maybe all the pieces aren't in place yet to even start presenting to you, because a lot of us get really excited, and it's like, all right, let's go. Hey, if you're going to give me this, all right.
Yeah.
Hey, so just understanding that a lot bigger things are coming for you. And you're like, great, all right.
Yeah, no, I'm already trying to figure out how this whole bar thing's going to work out. Do they have any advice for that?
Just really make sure you're taking time for yourself. That's the biggest thing that I get.
I know.
And I know you run around like with your hair on fire, and you go a million miles an hour, but I think that really things are too early to tell right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just feels like things are not. I know that you shared that you already got the business, things are going, business, right? So, but the thing is that things are not concrete yet enough to get a clear picture on that, if that makes sense.
It makes sense, yeah.
All right.
Because I totally feel that.
Awesome.
I feel that very much is true. Yeah.
Awesome.
So now we have some readings that we are going to give away too.
Yeah.
We have some email readings. You've given me a couple. So I'd say we'll give away a couple on Facebook and a couple now.
Yeah.
So for the first two people that email me, Stacy at urlradio.net, STACY@urlradio.net. For the first two people that get in on email, I will get you one of these free email readings. valued at $60. That's a great deal.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve. How long do these usually take?
You know, for me, I'm kind of like a hunt and peck type, and my wife will even validate that.
Yeah.
I'm not the most fluid on the keyboard, so it takes me a little bit longer. But from the time I sit down to the time I actually click send, usually about a half an hour. But sometimes it goes a little bit quicker. So even if like you know, if I'm wrangling the kids or you know, kind of multitasking sometimes. Sometimes I'm able to do that, but sometimes I need to concentrate a little bit. It just depends on the person that I'm reading. And if I start tapping into somebody and for the reading, and I really get that, I need to really get quiet to, you know, to get a certain information or whatever the case is, then I do so. So I go down to my little sacred space, I call it.
Dad, do you just do this kind of from your office? Is that where you
Yep.
typically do it?
So we actually had the basement of our home remodeled to accommodate the offices, or my office and before we started homeschooling my son, we actually used to bring in clients into my home. And
you should have told me he was coming in. I didn't see him coming.
Sorry, you had me distracted.
Do you want to? Can you do a reading for him?
Oh God.
This is my. I don't know. Do you want a reading?
Well, I guess as long as it's not bad.
Well, you can't guarantee that.
I mean, if death's involved,
It's not going to be bad.
If death's involved, that's all right.
He does kind of want to die. Like, I mean, not
What?
like he's not suicidal. He's like, I'm gonna die by the time I'm 33.
You're already setting the bar for yourself.
Yeah,
No.
he kind of is.
No.
He could be.
Oh, well, you never know. Tomorrow's never promised, right?
That's true. That's why I live every day like I do.
Absolutely.
I've been leasing it, so guys might come in today and take it back.
Okay, so will you do reading for Mike?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And what's your first name? Sorry.
Mike.
Mike. All right. All right.
I'm gonna give you that.
All right.
This will be interesting.
Oh, you always are.
All right. And for those not on the radio, I'm sitting here making a few notes to see who is stepping forward. So first thing, Mike, is I do have a few females that step forward actually, but I want to jump up right above your head where that's usually where I ask angels and guides to step forward. So first and foremost, of course, again, I get Archangel Michael, known as protector. So understanding the color blue comes in. And of course, usually Michael is usually depicted with a sword and a shield. And so really giving you a lot of nice protection. The other angel that steps in for you is Archangel Raphael. And Raphael is not a Ninja Turtle, by the way.
Wrong one.
Everybody got excited. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, he's doing the Ninja Turtle. No. Raphael is associated with the color green and associated with healers. So whether you're aware of it or not, I don't know. Do you do any type of energy healing, or have you?
No.
Okay.
He literally has the worst energy I've ever witnessed. of anybody.
Wow. Can you feel the love over there?
Maybe it's potential.
That's
Potential.
true. You're hiding your potential, maybe.
But so the thing is, we need to understand that we're all healers. We all have all of these abilities, but for certain people, we all have different abilities a little bit closer to the surface than others. So just understand for you, I understand with Raphael stepping forward, is that you would be a very natural healer if you would so choose to look into that ability. So as he's giving Stacy healing.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So I do have a female that steps forward really big on the mom side of the family. Understand that she would have passed in her 70s. Feels like it was the fall of the year. Just feels like that time of the year where it gets really cold, a little bit of ice. So pre-winter, if you will, or that's like June around here, right? So
Yeah, September.
and everybody's like, be quiet, Dean. Don't set any precedents. Understand that she would have spent some time in the hospital prior to passing. I just feel a heaviness in her lungs, so I feel that she would have had some complications prior to passing with some fluid buildup. I can feel more pressure on her lungs a little bit. I do feel, though, that it was more like stomach related, so either a tumor or like stomach cancer or a tumor in her stomach. Does that sound like something that you recognize or validate?
Possibly.
Okay.
I don't know.
And then we also talk about a female that kind of steps behind you and at an angle. Understand that this female would have passed. I'm understanding that she was in her early to mid 20s and feels like she would have passed from a car accident. I see her with shoulder length. She was shoulder length brunette. Very pretty young lady. Does that make any sense to you? Can you recognize her at all?
I don't know.
Okay.
Anyone.
And the thing that I always share is, even if somebody shares is that you can't validate right away, I always trust that, and I've had this more times than not, is that once they're able or go back and do some validating or checking with family, is that where they're like, oh, that's who he was talking about. So the thing I would share is just really try to stay open to it. But the first and foremost, the biggest thing is that I'm hearing for you, Mike, is that talking about thing that I'm being told by Spirit is taking one day at a time. So it almost feels like you're, I know you were just saying, when I'm 40 or whatever.
33.
Saying, or sorry, 33. I'm setting the bar right there. No more. But the biggest thing is and now without getting into too much detail on the air, as far as did you come through some health complications as well? Not too long ago.
Not really. I was sick.
Okay. Just a normal cold? Or
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the thing that I would share is this, the biggest thing for you is just really feeling like you have to almost live. The biggest thing that I'm showing is just almost like where you're trying to live all the days at once. Does that make sense to you?
I would do
Like where you're trying to live all your
I feel like I maybe do.
Okay.
But
Don't look at me. It's
So,
you.
and that's the biggest thing that I understand with that is just take it one day at a time. But the other thing is that I'm also being shown and told for you is that I just see more of a personal circle, if you will. So no new relationships coming in for you. And just really be cognizant, I'm being told, is really who comes into your, what I call your sacred space. So we all have that energy or that space closest to you. And just really be cognizant of who comes in that, okay? So who you trust with that close in.
That's spot on.
So.
What?
It's just you, sir.
No, I never believed that. Yeah. Does that make sense to you? Are you good?
Yeah.
No, he said be careful of who you let into your sacred space.
Oh. Well, there's no one getting into my secret.
And I gotta congratulate our winners, Emily Mardo
All right.
and Amanda Fracasso.
All right.
And I'm gonna give one to Jen Dahl too because she'd actually Facebooked me, even though
Awesome.
it's not the right. But I'll give it to her anyway.
And are we
So
gonna?
congratulations to
are-
those, and then I'm gonna give away these other two.
Are we gonna also
Wow.
give away the special?
The VIP bags. That's right.
That-
We have a VIP bag.
Yes.
So here's what do you want to do for that, Dean? Is there anything special you want to do?
Hey, how about, do you want to do like a little, I've done this before,
Okay.
but maybe like a little intuitive challenge. So
Okay.
something like on the psychic side.
Yes.
All right.
That
So,
sounds fun. Okay.
how about, here's a great thing.
Okay.
Here, I will move. So I can't show this on Facebook.
Okay.
So there's an
Ooh.
object here, and so don't come to the studio window. We're gonna get a flag. So what I would say, if somebody can correctly guess what the object is, then they get the VIP bag.
And the VIP bag it's great. It's chocolate and it's water, and is it a 60-minute reading? Is that what it is?
No, it's another email reading,
it's
but
an
it
email
has some other goodies in it.
Okay. So if you can figure out
Mm-hmm.
what item Dean has picked up and set down, really think about it, really channel it.
Yep.
If you have a guess, then you can email me, stacy@urlradio.net, or you can message me on Facebook, Stacy Sturm, or Stacy Lynn on Facebook, or you can also message URL Radio, and I'll check all
Awesome.
those, and we'll see. So we'll do that too. It's gonna be fun.
Awesome,
Okay.
I know.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in, Dean.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
And once again, what events do you have coming up today and tomorrow?
Today, this afternoon, I will be doing one-on-one readings with a bunch of lovely people at the Staybridge Inn. And then tonight, of course, 7 to 9, over above Humpback Sally's, we'll be doing the public gallery. Both of those events are sold out. And then tomorrow all day, I will be doing readings one-on-one with another group of lovely people at the Staybridge, and that as well is sold out.
Okay.
And then we got some other ideas cooking on the fire.
We're also looking at expanding to some other cities.
Yeah.
And doing a couple more events. So
We're gonna.
If you have any ideas, anybody out there, if there's a place, if you want Dean to come to your town, you can email Dean, you can email me, just get a hold of us and let us know. We'll see if we can make it happen.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks, Dean.
Thank you so much.
Let's see, coming up that afternoon show at 2, and your requests all day. Let me know what you want to hear. Email me.